Let's get some more insights into what people would like to see tonight. Shenilla Mohamed is the Executive Director for Amnesty International South Africa. Shenilla, good morning to you. The President will be speaking tonight. He'll command the attention of the nation. You've suggested he should use the time to speak up for human rights defenders. Why should he be using this moment for that?
Well, Stephen, good morning to you and good morning to your viewers. First of all, Stephen, the President himself was once upon a time a human rights defender when he fought against the apartheid state. And I think he knows himself what it means to be a rights defender and what it means when your rights are violated. And I think, for President Ramaphosa to stand up and really be very firm and take the opportunity not only to support human rights defenders, but to also commit to stronger legislation, to more justice when rights defenders are killed or their families are threatened or they're kidnapped. And I think that, the problem is we have not seen justice for human rights defenders. I mean, we have many, many people who have died fighting for basic rights. We have Abashlali, we have, Babita Deokaran. There's so many people who have given up their lives fighting for basic rights, and yet there has been no justice.
Many things are going to happen tonight. Many people will be looking at what he says about the economy. The other big issue, of course, is around human rights, and human rights are human rights everywhere. We've seen the US President Donald Trump really, it seems, punishing South Africa in a way for things he disagrees with. We've seen Marco Rubio, his Secretary of State, saying today he won't be coming to the G20 summit because the G20 summit will be about diversity, equity and inclusion. I mean, this is, in a way, the basis of our Constitution. How should our government be responding to Trump?
Look, I think, the comments that President Trump and the people around him are making should be condemned. I think that, using the words, diversity, equity and inclusion as swear words is actually an insult to all South Africans who have fought for this long and hard. And as you say, it is part of our Constitution. So we, obviously we are glad that the South Africa is standing up against this and really making it clear that they will not be dictated to. And, diversity and inclusion and equity is a part of who we are as South African society. But I also think the way in which the President is making statements, on the people of Gaza, on, wanting to forcibly remove them. I don't know if President Trump understands that, by doing that, it is actually a war crime. It's a crime against humanity to, just randomly decide to remove people, forcibly displace them against their will. And who knows better than South Africa what that felt like? I mean, during the apartheid era, people were forcibly displaced in South Africa. So I think, what Trump is doing should be condemned. It is unfortunate, and I'm hoping that some sense will prevail somewhere along the line, but doesn't look like it, Stephen.
I mean, it's tricky for our president because the US does give us money. It's such a big economy. Tariffs imposed on us by the US or us being removed from AGOA would have a financial cost, and I mean the president would pay a political price to that. Does he need to stand up to Trump, as difficult as that might be?
I think South Africa, has to decide what is important for South Africa. And I think, the dependence on financial aid is really what has kept us chained to these former colonial states and these countries in the first place. And I think that, South Africa, and yes, there will be consequences, but I think South Africa has to think about how do we manage those consequences? Where can we diversify? It gives us an opportunity to actually grow our economy in a way where we are not dependent. So, again, I feel like, we can't be always, bowing down to rights violations. Things should not come at the cost of people's basic human rights. And, like I said earlier, who knows better than South Africa what it means when your rights are violated? So, yes, there will be financial consequences. But South Africa has an economy that can be put right. And I think South Africa needs to think about how to reduce its dependency on countries that think that because they're giving us money, they can dictate.
Shenilla Mohamed, thank you. The Executive Director for Amnesty International South Africa. Do appreciate the time. To some other news now, on the chair of Parliament's Portfolio Committee on Finance, Joe Maswanganyi, calling out the banking sector, he says, for its lack of transformation. He says black professionals occupy less than 20% of executive roles in larger financial institutions. On Tuesday, major commercial banks and regulatory bodies within the sector appeared before Parliament to address several issues, including transformation and competition.